To promote service delivery, accountability, and build capacity of lower local governments, Uganda adopted the decentralization policy in 1995. This meant that power was partly delegated to the districts, so decision-making was shared both by the central government through its arms of cabinet, parliament, and judiciary, while at the district level, the city councils, district councils, and municipal councils were to make decisions. Critical among these decisions is public policy, and at the center are budgets and resource mobilization. Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, CSBAG, is a coalition of national and subnational civil society organizations and individuals formed to influence Government of Uganda's decisions on resource mobilization and utilization for equitable and sustainable development. CSBAG implemented a 2-year USAID-funded Domestic Revenue Mobilization for Development project, DRM4D, running a component called Strengthening Public Accountability for Revenues and Expenditures, SPARE, whose goal was to have government increase budgetary allocations towards agriculture, education, and health by at least 2% to enable gender-responsive service delivery.
The DRM4D project was very connected to the work that we do at CSBAG. One, it would enable us to understand the way government is raising revenue, to ensure that each and every person pays their fair share of taxes, and the government has put in place better systems that can make sure that those who evade taxes can be caught, those who are paying less can pay their right of money. So basically, our argument is that the government must collect enough money to meet its obligation. The second area why we're interested in DRM4D is that we wanted to connect what government was collecting to where government was investing. We so much wanted to ensure that if government is collecting more money, that extra quantity is collecting goes to financing social services.
The project implementation started in 2021 and ended in 2023 and covered national and 10 cities of Arua, Hoima, Mbarara, Fort Portal, Lira, Gulu, Soroti, Mbale, Masaka, and Jinja. The project had 5 intended outcomes, and these are: Outcome 1. Legislatures with the ability to legislate effectively for increased budget allocation in social sectors. Outcome 2. CSO coalition effectively advocating and contributing to influencing budget allocation for social sectors. Outcome 3. CSBAG capacity as a coalition on expenditure policy issues strengthened. Outcome 4. Postgraduate student researchers recruited and retained to write policy briefing papers on selected topics relating to domestic revenue mobilization and public finance management in Uganda. Outcome 5. Enhanced public-private dialogue on domestic revenue mobilization at local government level. CSBAG has been instrumental in implementing these outcomes. To implement the DRM4D project, CSBAG worked with civil society organizations, first by building their capacity in budget analysis and advocacy. Increased CSO participation in the financial year 2023-2024 led to the submission of 40 budget proposals, of which 26 were adopted by the Parliamentary Budget Committee to improve the key sectors of health, education, and agriculture.
Last year, while the government had proposed a reduction in the budget for the health sector by about 350 billion shillings, our push against that enabled us to secure an increment from government. But also in terms of votes that have seen increase, one of them has been the national medical stores for drugs. We have seen considerable increase in budget allocation towards medicines and supplies for the health sector. And you know that medicines and supplies for the health sector goes to the core of what constitutes the health sector. The other one is in terms of blood. When we started advocacy around increment of resources to health, allocation for blood collection and distribution was only 17 billion. Last financial year, we had an increase up to 23 billion, and that was a significant increase.
In this advocacy, we have managed to realize some responses from government, especially in terms of increasing budget allocation. There are areas that we have been advocating for, areas in regards to extension services, agro inputs, the quality. Being Pelham, we promote agroecology, and our advocacy is around government financing agroecology initiatives, which we have seen government take efforts toward that.
And now we have started pushing for other areas. This current year, in the first budget called Circular, there was no instruction for implementing MDAs on food security and nutrition to plan for food security interventions and nutrition. We engaged, again we engaged, and we said that this instruction was released again in the second budget called Circular, which we call paragraph 80 of the budget called Circular. And indeed we saw some government ministries and agencies heeding to the call. A case in point is Ministry of Local Government, that immediately issued an instruction on the DDG that 2% of it should be spent on nutrition coordination activities at local government. Hey, who can say that our advocacy work doesn't yield? It does.
Key among DRM4D interventions was capacity building of human resources, both among CSBAG staff and new recruits in policy advocacy. Christina Namubiru, an economist who had just graduated, was among those who were recruited and shares her experience.
With CSBAG, I thought I was coming in for a training, so I would be aside looking while others were taking on the work, but it was different. Whenever these economists that I had to work with, the program team, were interfaced with a certain kind of work, I was involved, be it writing reports, proposals to take to parliamentary committees, coming up with issues for policy briefs, going to the field. I was greatly engaged in those. And I've quite gained several skills. The major ones have been advocacy skills. In the beginning, I really didn't even understand what that meant, but I can proudly say that now I can stand up and advocate for something clearly. So we've had a lot of work around the budget, data analysis, and clearly my skills in analysis of data to come up with reports that can inform national priorities has been boosted and advanced. I've also been able to have high-level engagements, policy engagements, like with the parliamentary committees, with different MDAs, and the recent one that I can recall is where I had to contribute to the national migration policy.
CSBAG and its members held 10 multi-sector accountability meetings on domestic revenue mobilization to improve service delivery in the 10 selected cities. These dialogues reached over 400 technocrats, politicians, private sector associations, and civil society organizations. This improved collaborations between the city's administration and the taxpayers has led to increased tax compliance. Arua City saw the Central Division emerge the best performing local entity in Uganda in the last financial year. The city managed to collect 1.2 billion shillings in revenue, and this was largely attributed to the citizen engagement meetings supported by CSBAG through DRM4D project.
When you empowered the city, when you empowered the financial team, when you empowered the stakeholders, we had seen very, very, very big change. We have realized that through the stakeholders' engagement that CSBAG had with us, it made them to come out and they know their obligation, that it is their role to remit back to the councils. And from the councils, now, how, after the hotel owners, we came with them into agreement, they told us to put street lights in some specific places. Those ones, particular, we have put them under local revenue.
Increase in revenue collection has led to improved service delivery in the 10 cities. Arua City Central Division now plans to fence Niva Primary School and the city abattoir among its many plans.
So we have realized that since the system has helped us to improve local revenue, we now needed to do more. So we are going to fence an abattoir land in Olie. When we fence the abattoir, in 1 month we shall be able to generate 80 million. And when you multiply this one by 12, this is going to be a lot of money. Now we have taken decision to fence Niva Primary School and the education sector. When the institution is fenced, you will realize that performance is going to improve. When performance improves, we will have quality human resource. You can see how symbiotic the system is going.
To improve tax compliance, the people being taxed must understand why they are paying taxes, and these taxes must be accounted for. This calls for robust systems that ensure that taxes paid are put into service delivery and not misused. With support from US aid, local governments were supported to install the Integrated Revenue Administration System, ERAS, which helps both the local authorities and the taxpayers track their money.
At times you could find that some money could be paid to someone by cash, because these people could get money by cash from the taxpayers, and they don't limit that money. And they could easily give them receipts as money received. But now it can't be, because whoever reaches the IRS, you should be able to see each taxpayer. Whoever is featuring there, that is an evidence that that person paid the money.
The increase in revenue collected has seen Lira City Administration use part of it to improve access to Lira City market.
We were able to open new doors in the main market, which was poorly designed earlier on, and the people using the market were complaining. So we put 4 new access in addition to what was there. This year we also intend to add 1 more access, and then we shall do a few toilets in our schools, and then desks for our pupils in primary.
In Ginger City, evaluation of people's property through support from DRM4D project has made property owners more compliant when it comes to paying taxes.
Now most people know the value of their properties because of USAID's doing. They have helped people, they have opened our eyes that I have a property and this property is worth this much, and from this property I can pay taxes comfortably, and they know why they are paying the taxes. And out of revenues collected locally, we have worked on Faraday Road, that's from Ambakot roundabout, and then we have worked on some lights, and there has been some grading on a few roads in Walukuba Masese, former division, Walukuba Masese.
Despite the achievements of DRM4D project, like improved revenue collection, collaborations, accountability, good governance, and capacity building, there have been some challenges. Key among these challenges is the internal weakness of the local governments, which hinders them from realizing their full revenue collection potential.
It is still a problem that revenue that has been mobilized locally, the decision to use it and the time to use it again involves the center, which up to now our understanding of the law is that the center is responsible for revenue collected by Uganda Revenue Authority, which is an organ which is appointed by an act of law. So this kind of revenue that they collect should not be treated like the way the revenue that's mobilized by the local governments. So I think that is the only other gap that is remaining in all this.
At advocacy level, there has been challenges to CSOs in accessing adequate information from government, especially on classified budgets, and this has made accountability for funds difficult. There has also been a challenge of political actors failing to differentiate budget advocacy from political activism.
Like any other project, there are challenges you face, but also you work to ensure that you address them. I think the biggest challenge for this project is the short-term project. It's for only 2 years. And we are looking at achievements that you can only achieve in the next 5 to 6 years. So the project period was really very short. As we are beginning now to realize the achievements, the project is closing after 2 years. But thanks to the extension of 6 months, probably even the little we have achieved wouldn't be talking about that. Of course, there is the issue of access to budget information. Despite our existing and good relationships with government, there are still things in government that are kept secret. For example, I'm still looking for classified expenditure reports, and I have not got them.
As the DRM4D project support to CSBAG comes to an end, the achievements the project has registered can be seen in increased awareness and participation of citizens in the budgetary process, increased revenue collections, and improved locally funded service delivery. The continued engagement of government, civil society, private sector, and citizens of Uganda will always stand as a testimony to the DRM4D interventions in ensuring social justice in budgetary allocations in Uganda.